I'm Butch Butcher, and this is my co-host, Richard Bannon. Welcome to Truth Talk. Today, we are kicking off an exciting journey through the Ten Commandments. These aren't just ancient words, they're God's blueprint for a life of faith, purpose, and obedience. Stay with us as we unpack the truth that still speaks to us today.
That's right, Butch. And by the way, Butch and I had no influence on Pastor Sprague talking about the Ten Commandments today in church, okay? That was just a God thing, okay? But anyway, thank y'all for being here. Before we really dive into it, Butch told me we're going to have like 12 lessons on the Ten Commandments. I said, well, Butch, was only 10. But he said, well, this is one of them, the introduction to kind of get people fired up about it and thinking about it. And then there's the 10 Commandments, and then there's a summary that brings it all together. So anyway, that's how we got 12, but I had to clarify that. Before we get much further into it, I have a few questions for the audience. How is this going to work? Do they just raise their hand to call in?
They can call in by raising their hands. Hey, this is it's a radio show.
It's a radio show.
We can't see any of our. We've got a.
Yeah, we've
actually got a call screener in here somewhere.
Yeah, Trish is going to be our call screener.
Oh, call screener.
So I have a few questions for the audience. We get some call-ins. What?
That's our producer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, our producer, Karen.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have one question I have is, can anybody name all three of the Three Stooges? Anybody? Okay. Anybody? Nancy, thanks for calling. The phones are starting to light up.
Larry, Curly.
There are more than three, by the way.
Oh, Larry,
Not working. Everything on. Larry, Curly, and Moe.
That's good. Yep, that's very good. Okay, now I have another question that's a little bit harder. Who can name all 6 of the Brady Bunch kiddos? There was 3 boys and 3 girls. This is a little harder. There's twice as many to remember.
Marsha and Greg. Marsha and Greg.
Yes.
Trish, go for it.
Greg, Marsha, Jan, Cindy,
Cindy.
Peter, Smith,
Peter.
Peter, that,
And
and
then-
then the little one, Bobby.
Bobby. Okay, very good. Okay. The reason why we started out with that, like 74% of the people can actually name all 3 of the Stooges, but only 14% of the population can name all 10 of the 10 Commandments.
What
Same.
about Richard? What about Big Mac?
I was going to skip that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
What about the big one?
And then on the Brady Bunch stuff, 35% of the people can name all 6 kiddos, and still only 14%, can name all 10 of the 10 Commandments. So, is the 10 Commandments still valuable today? Are we losing it? Are we forgetting about it? Is it an ancient relic? Is it an antique? Does it need tweaked? Do we, I don't know, so that's what we're here today to discuss and get going.
Yeah, well, something else too that was brought to my attention is that 78% of Americans believe that the 10 Commandments should be posted publicly.
Should?
Yeah.
Should. 78%. So that's close to 80%. So that means that most people support the public display of the 10 Commandments, but they can't remember them.
Maybe that's why they need displayed everywhere.
Most people know a few, and we're going to kind of test our audience on some of this too. But we were privileged to have some good resources that we were able to kind of look through, and we're going to be able to share some of those as we go along. But I think it might be a good time for us to move into our first segment. What do you think?
I think so.
Yeah, should we take a quick break for our sponsors, and then we'll.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, one.
This was the face I saw above my cradle,
Anybody remember this movie?
the only mother I ever had. But my feet are set on the road that I must follow.
What your Cecil B. DeMille.
I will teach thee.
Man shall be ruled by law, not by the will of other men.
Slaves are mine. The Academy Award-winning film
Let my people go.
of the unforgettable definitive Bible story.
I know not his God, neither will I let his people go.
You have not obeyed the Lord.
This night, the Lord our God will deliver us from the bondage of Egypt.
They shall die on my chariot wheels. So let it be written, so let it be done.
Starring some of film's greatest legends. The greatest epic of all time.
Behold his mighty hand. Those who will not live by the law shall die by the law.
The Ten Commandments.
Thanks. Now it's time for Richard's fun facts and movie trivia. So how many remember seeing that as a kid?
Oh, yeah.
Probably multiple times, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, that movie was made in 1956. That was before I was born. Yeah, how about you, Butch?
Well, you know what? It changed the subject right now.
You were just a babe, though, right?
That's right. You're
Just a babe. So anyway,
Free, not held forever.
Yeah.
So anyway, in 1956, it affected a lot of baby boomers, and anyway, it cost $13 million to produce that movie, which in today's standards is
13
cheap.
billion, yeah.
Yeah, but back then it was the most expensive movie ever produced, and
Wow.
it held that until for at least a decade. I forgot which one movie took it over, but. No, that was only in '59, but yeah, 10 years later. So it was the most expensive movie ever produced at that time. And anyway, it was nominated for 7 Academy Awards, and it actually won Best Visual Effects, probably because of the way they parted the Red Sea in there. It was filmed on location in a lot of places. They went to Egypt. And they actually filmed on the Sinai Peninsula and actually at Mount Sinai. So it was, E for effort. They were trying to be, accurate. And even in the credits of the movie, at the end, how they, give credit to it, it even says the Holy Scriptures there. So they actually got part of this stuff out of Exodus. Of course, it starred Charlton Heston and Yul Brynner, How many people think that when they get to heaven and meet Moses, he's going to look like Charlton Heston? Yeah. So, also, very interesting fact, adjusted for inflation, okay? This movie, it's an epic, it's a classic. It grossed $122 million at the box office in its day. Now, adjusted for inflation, it still holds the rank of number 8th highest grossing movie, most successful movie out of all the movies, in number 8. So the 10 Commandments are in the top 10. Great. So anyway, so Cecil B. DeMille was the director, okay, and he is. He did quite a few movies. He actually did some other religious movies like Samson and Delilah, the King of Kings about Jesus, And he made his very first movie in 1912 called The Squaw Man at Paramount in Hollywood. He was credited with being the very first American. He founded America Cinema basically there, and the original studio is now a museum. But in 1912, he made the first feature film, long feature film, and so he's credited with being the founder, and he was a Republican. So that was interesting. Who would have thought in Hollywood that it was created by that guy? But anyway, just to see how sharp our audience is, what do you think is The number one gross sale movie, adjusted for inflation, and with the most sales of all time.
I guess they'll have to call in and get our.
Have to call
we gotta
in.
have, we gotta
Have to
have
call
our.
in.
Call in.
Cindy, we have a caller.
I'm gonna guess Gone with the Wind.
That is correct. Okay, and we have a sharp audience, Butch,
Yeah,
don't you
You
think?
know, she'd been at the party, at our party the other night, she probably would have won a chocolate right there.
I think, yeah, she would have.
I tell you what, this is really interesting. You weren't even born in 1956, and you know so much about this movie. You know, like
Google.
me, I'm blown away.
Well, thanks.
But, you
Well,
know, I think that one thing that I look back on my childhood, and that was a cornerstone to our Bible study. You know, we knew so much about the Ten Commandments. They taught it in, I can't remember for sure, but I think they taught it in school back then. We used to, yeah.
You know, I first, learned about it in Sunday school, as a kid. I think most of us probably knew about some of the Ten Commandments even before you became saved and invited Jesus into your heart. And it was just, kind of a building block, but you knew about that. My parents, were always trying to teach me right from wrong and all that. And I was kind of rebellious.
Yeah.
You little teenage, yeah. I know it's hard to believe, isn't it? But anyway, so they take me to church and all that. And anyway, this movie came out, and they, wanted to me to watch it. So they kind of made me watch it when I was just a young teenager. Kind of started. I think you can still see it on TV every year now.
It's on Blu-ray now. It's out on DVD.
Yeah. So anyway, we watched it and everything, and it was helped influence my life.
It does. I thought about the Ten Commandments a lot. I would think about them, and they really resonated with me. And I used to think about how they were ordered. Like the first three are our relationship with God, and then the next one is our relationship with our family, and then the remaining ones are relationship with society, with our interactions with other people. So that always stuck with me. I thought that was really a powerful insight that was taught, that these should be internalized. There's so much more than just what you read about. I think we're going to learn more about that as we talk about the Ten Commandments.
Yeah.
And we've got do we have a caller?
We have a caller.
Well, I think most people realize that movie you're talking about wasn't the first movie, Ten Commandments. You realize that? And it wasn't the first time Cecil B. DeMille did it. Let me show you what.
Fact finding.
No, he made it in 1923 in black and white. So he redid his own movie, a lot more spectacularly and a lot more costly. Isn't that?
But that's why we have callers. I mean, we learn a lot.
Yeah, we learn more by y'all's
There
participation.
was more than 3 Stooges. There were not more than 3 in any movie.
Hey,
there were a couple of brothers.
our call screener. You're supposed to screen these calls. Thank you, caller. We appreciate that.
One thing you could do as a family, with your kids or grandkids, is maybe watch this movie with them sometime. It's a 3.5-hour movie, somewhere in there, so you have a lot of popcorn and stuff. So maybe even this afternoon at 5:30 or something, you could watch. Oh wait, I'm getting a call from the producer. Oh no, sorry, it's Super Bowl Sunday, 5:30. It's not a good time to watch the Ten Commandments. Okay.
Yeah, with the.
We don't know who's going to win the Super Bowl, but we know who won the Ten Commandments.
That's right.
So I thought, it might be interesting if we kind of look at some of our personal struggles that we had with the Ten Commandments, and as we live them out today. But I think one of them that I've recognized is, as you scroll through social media and different websites and things that people are doing with their lives, we tend to wonder why we can't have some of those things. I find myself being that's what you call coveting.
Coveting, yeah.
And
Number 10.
yeah, that's right. We've got a sharp audience here.
We do. We do.
But our
They're way above average.
They really are.
I bet if we took a poll right now that more than 14% of them could come up with the
I think
10
so.
commandments. I'm just positive.
There's one thing too, when you think about wanting things that you don't have and this covetousness, I think that is something that really hurts the heart of God. You know, because you think about it, even if you think back in the time when the Egyptians were traveling on the desert, you know, journeying in the desert, he was providing everything they needed. But yet they were still complaining about the things they didn't have. Are we kind of like that sometimes? I mean, I find myself being that way. You know,
I think so. It's hard, you know, this day and age, especially when there's so much flying at you.
How about you? Is there anything that kind of sticks with you that you have issues
Yeah, you
with?
know, like I said, I was kind of a rebellious teenager and, you know, I kind of regret that. But also, you know, just keeping the Sabbath, and keeping it holy, you know, today's world, you know, our kid, you know, my daughter played volleyball, club volleyball, and they had tournaments sometimes on the weekends and even on Sunday. So, you know, we'd just go to church, you know, and all that. And I remember one time, I hate to admit this, but they had a tournament in New Orleans over Easter. And of course, we went, you know, so she could lose her spot on the team, whatever. But anyway, you can always rationalize, but, you know, it's hard. Some of these things that may seem simple, but it may be harder to keep than what you think. And the one thing, the positive influence that the Ten Commandments had on me, you know, like this was after I didn't get saved until I was like 23. But because of my background and my parents trying to rear me right and watching the movie and going to church and blah, blah, blah. I was one time at a drive-through bank. You know, we had to do that, you know, back before direct deposit.
Right.
Do you remember that?
I remember that.
Yeah, okay. I'm old enough to remember. You had to drive through and deposit your check every couple of weeks. So went through the bank line, you know, deposited my check after being there 20 minutes in line, you know, and pulled out. I always got a little bit of money, you know, for the weekend. Take Trish out, right? So, anyway, I noticed the envelope was pretty heavy, pretty thick. I was, something's wrong. Did they gyp me out? So anyway, I stopped at the red light, opened it up, and there was like $500 more in there than I had asked about. And so, I, you know, thought about it for a second, and then I went back and got in the same line, you know, to go to the same bank teller. And I went through and I said, hey, I think you made a mistake. I was supposed to get, you know, $100 and I've got like 600 or something. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for I would have lost my job if you hadn't come back. So, but I guarantee you, if I wasn't a born again Christian and didn't know right from wrong and stuff, I'd have looked at that and said, oh boy, go on, take the money and run, and I'd have been out of there. But you know, it helps you in your everyday walk.
Do you remember blue laws?
I sure do.
Man, I tell you what, those things, they stick in my mind because when I was a young boy, we could not, you know, we used to like to go up to, you know, the corner store and buy, you know, candy and Coke or whatever, you know. But they closed every Sunday, and yeah, and there was really nothing open. Now that was respectful of our Christian heritage.
It was.
But then man began to rationalize that and started saying, hey, you know, maybe we could sell this, but not that. You know, that's kind of the way you see even in Israel back in their day, the way they kind of.
They started out with something little,
yeah,
and then incrementally just take a little more and get a little bigger. And then,
But you remember the blue laws? Are you young, old enough?
I'm old. Yeah, I'm old enough.
That's good.
I can remember someone in Sunday school one time had a sick child and needed to go get like baby Tylenol or something. And I mean, I remember him talking in Sunday school how mad he was. He couldn't go to the store and get baby Tylenol. Of course, I think someone gave him some that had it, but yeah, it was a big deal, you know.
Well, I think we've got a.
No, we have a caller.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm want to go back to wanting something that you've seen, and I guess the biblical, for me, I'm a business owner, so for me, I go by the biblical, I can't quote the Bible, but you have not because you ask not. So I build my business by doing that, and it's helping me get what, I see stuff, but I work to get it. So, and I use biblical principle to get me to move forward what I need to do. So I don't know if that's
Well, that's good, yeah.
Yeah, but I just want to make sure that was the same family.
Yeah, that's in line with what I feel. Now, we're going to go ahead and take a station break.
Oh,
And I want,
one more caller.
We got to move on. We got a show to run here, you know? We can't just keep.
We got our advertising. Got a schedule.
We'll have time for, you know, but we're only into segment 1. We got 2 more segments. Come on now. We got 2 questions here. And we want our callers, you know, as they gather in their homes, wherever they are at, that they will maybe discuss this among themselves, and then come back, and we're going to have our opportunity to share some information here based on these 2 questions. Which commandment is the hardest to keep in today's world? What does it look like to truly honor the Sabbath today? So we're going to go ahead and take a break from our sponsor and let y'all go ahead and talk.
All right, we're back.
We're back
on the air live. We've got
our producers coming back.
Producers coming. We've got our call screener in action. We've got time for 2. What do you think, Richard? 2 callers?
Yeah, at least 2. Yeah, let's
2. Let's go for 2 callers. Call screener. We got. You got anybody on the line for us? So we got one ringing in now.
They're lining up.
Yeah, they're lining up. But the call screener's not doing it.
I'm sorry, that's what's right.
I don't know if we're able to get a caller ID on that when we get that.
He calls back.
All right.
I may I just told my table this, but.
Okay, we have one.
We got a caller? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
I listen to your program all the time. I really love it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm a first-time caller.
Okay.
But you're a long-time listener, I know.
We appreciate you.
With respect to your question, which commandment is the hardest to keep in today's world? Yeah. I find that all of us are guilty of killing, wishing that people were dead or that kind of thing. Meaning that if somebody cuts you off on the highway, or if you're in an argument with someone, sometimes you just let loose and you don't hold back. And so in many ways you do kill a lot.
You can,
Yeah.
especially in this Houston traffic.
I think it might be good for me to respond to that. You know, in Matthew 5:21 through 22, it says, "You have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders will be liable to judgment. But I say to you that everyone who is angry with his brother will be liable to judgment. Whoever insults his brother will be liable to the council. And whoever says, you fool, will be liable to the hell of fire." This passage expands on that commandment that you shall not murder. Hatred and anger against your brother is accompanied to murder. So I think that it was a good point that the caller made, because this is more than what this is why it's so important for us to read God's word and really understand his commandments, you know, in a different way, and be enlightened and really
the meaning,
really meditate on his word, because it has so much, and he gave that as a blueprint for us to live our lives and for our nation and our societies to be orderly and to have really have freedom is what it amounts to. You really have freedom when you follow God's ways. Now, do we have time for another caller?
This is the last caller in this segment.
Last caller, okay.
Okay.
I called in because my wife told me to. She said your commandment.
That's number 6.
Number 1.
Okay, so
Hold it up.
I believe the hardest commandment to keep is the first one, that there shall be no other gods before the one God. And anytime we disobey God, or anytime we fall away, we're putting ourselves on the throne and kicking him out. And so if we don't get that one down, it's hard to do the rest of them.
Very good.
I think that's very good. Well, let's move on with some of our other thoughts that we might have had on this subject.
Okay.
Richard, I know that there's a lot of, I guess, inconsistencies in our governmental decision making, especially when it comes to certain things. And one of them is the Ten Commandments, because one law may say you can't display in a public area, but yet if you go to the halls of Congress, they have a picture of Moses right there. They got the Ten Commandments.
Yes.
You go to the Supreme Court, they got the Ten Commandments, but what's up with that? I don't understand.
They're trying
What do you think?
to just rewrite history and take God out of things. You know, our nation was founded with basic Christian principles, and the Ten Commandments is part of our laws and everything.
But
And they're just trying to get rid of it.
Are you familiar with Stone versus Graham from 1980?
Yes, they struck down posting commandments in schools. They're trying to take them out of the schools, and it's ridiculous. And like you said, 78% of the people are okay with it.
Yeah, I agree. And you got this Pleasant Grove versus Summon, is that from 2009? They're saying that it's okay. You know, it's in a public park, you know, that this is historical information, you know. That's kind of inconsistent.
It's very inconsistent. You know, it's just
That's
like.
not why, though. It's okay because.
Do we have a
I hear
caller?
some
Do we have a
static
caller
on the radio.
Do we have a caller?
We got too much phone jamming. Calls. We'll have time for more callers on this segment too, won't we?
Yeah. There's also another law in Louisiana. Just recently passed a law to have the Ten Commandments posted in all the schools in Louisiana.
I really
of all
like that.
places. Isn't that great? And hopefully other states will do that.
It's, you know,
Yeah, she's from Louisiana.
do you think that in our society, going back to the beginning, the formation of our Constitution and our forefathers, when they were putting everything together, when they were structuring our nation and our society, you think they used the Ten Commandments, or they would base things on the Ten Commandments?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like most of the, if you go back and look at even the founding fathers and a lot of their writings and laws and stuff, like 34%, I think I read, of the founding fathers' writings mention the Bible, come from the Bible, and the Ten Commandments, and our laws from the Ten Commandments. Yeah.
Well, you know, I really like John Adams, and I don't know if you ever read that book. John, I think it was Missioner or somebody that wrote it. It's a really thick book. That guy
probably didn't read it then.
Wonderful. Yeah. Well, at least you're honest. But it's a wonderful book. If any, you know, I recommend it to anybody because it really details a lot of the formation, what was going on in our American government at the time, and that man was very close to his Creator, because everything he talked about, it was rooted in his faith. And I know that one of the, I just wrote this down. He said, this was actually a warning that he had for our country. He said, our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people.
Right.
So I think we're drifting away from that somewhat.
Well, we are. Actually, we have been. I think it really kind of started in 1960 when they took prayer out of schools. And, you know, it started then. And like I said, Satan gets a hold and just kind of gnaws at it, and just incrementally it gets worse and it gets worse and it gets a little worse. And now they're taking the Ten Commandments out of everywhere. You know, or trying to.
And then FedEx came in with this overnight delivery. You know, and that messed everything up too.
Well, yeah. So we're in the logistics business.
Yeah, people expect things. You know, they expect immediacy. So whatever they want, they get. You know, and that ties back to we've got we've got a couple of other just insights that I think we've talked about. One of them is that we've got a moral shift in our society. And it seems like there are more people waking up. What do you think?
I think they are.
Yeah.
I think you can tell the pulse beat of the country, and even with this last election, things, maybe just swinging back the other way to more common sense, more, values.
Well, I know you were talking about a few things like, let's just say adultery.
Okay, oh, yeah. You know, what if, picture this, you know, if, like, over half the marriages end in divorce. Well, more than half of the reasons those end up in divorce is infidelity. So what if everybody followed the 10 Commandments, didn't commit adultery? Just that one thing, how much less the divorce rate would be. And
murder would go up.
even if we're only thinking about it. Yeah.
Always a cause.
So what if, look at what's going on the world scene, like Russia and Ukraine. You know, the way I see it, you know, Putin is just coveting a little bit of land in Ukraine, you know, and they're killing all these people. And what if our world leaders, you know, what if they just believed in some of the 10 Commandments? They wouldn't be coveting and killing and all this stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not worth it. You know, if they would just do that, what a better world this would be.
Well, I want to pose this question to you, Richard. If the 10 Commandments are not posted, you know, they're not anywhere to be seen, then what does that how does that speak to you?
Well, if they're not going to be publicly posted, they need to be posted in your heart.
In your heart. I like that.
In your heart. You know, hide the word in your heart so you won't sin against me.
Yes.
So and when you are breaking the 10 Commandments, you know, like Pastor Greg said today, you're really sinning against, you know, God.
Yes.
You're grieving Him, making Him sad, you know, and it's hurting you too. But yeah, you can hide it in your heart, and they can never take that away from you.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I think this would be a good time for us to break for a station break. And let's see here.
You just quoted Deuteronomy 6:6.
We got two questions. What happens when a society removes God's laws from public life, and do America's laws today still reflect biblical principles? I want to pose that to our audience, and if we could come in with a couple more callers.
Okay.
How's that sound?
Sounds good.
We got a station break. All right, we're back. Good to see y'all again. The audience are hearing y'all again. We got time for two callers, don't we, Richard?
We do.
All right, call screen. You got some
There's one there.
All right, real quick. When our society does this, what is the first thing that happens in a court of law when they call a witness? Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God, is what they used to say. But they're counting on us to say, tell the truth.
Thank you. Thank you, caller. That's a good comment. I agree with that. And we've got time for
one.
Yeah, we'll do. I had this caller got hung up on earlier, so we'll get her third. So we'll do three this time.
Do America's laws today still reflect biblical principles? The written law mostly does. We have had a problem in the last few years with Congress making some laws that do not. But my son's an attorney. You go into the courtroom and you are following actually the laws that were written that reflect biblical principles. We need to fight hard to keep them.
That's right.
Thank you, caller. That's good information there.
Okay, we have this caller back.
All right, good.
I'm so sorry, I'm old school. When you talk about schools, that is my trigger. Because back in the olden days, in our time, we used to come in and do the flag, we say the prayer, and we had the fear of God. And then the person from Louisiana took it out, made us take it out, and it just changed. And now you have shootings and you have different things like that because they don't know about God. So that's kind of what my thinking is.
Yeah, God goes where He's invited. He stays where He's welcome.
There you go.
So we've got. Let's go on and move ahead a little bit. We're a little short of time today. We've got a Bible study coming up in the foundations class at Houston's First Baptist, and we really would like to open it up, you know, to invite people to come in because we're going to really be talking about a lot of these principles.
That's right. We'll have some lively discussions. One thing, I mean, the 10 Commandments, even though they're old, you know, from biblical times, they're relevant today, even though society's trying to not think they are. But something that's coming up that kind of scares me, that's going to be relevant, that I think will be very interesting, that our audience would like to hear about is, like the murder part, like, like this cancel culture thing. I mean, something that's new. AI is coming up. How is all that going to play into in effect? How people relate with the Ten Commandments and how laws are going to be and so forth. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
We've got one interesting episode coming into our class, and that's going to be right after we talk about thou shalt not murder. Mm-hmm. We've actually got a brother and sister that had started a nonprofit. It's called Bridges to Life. And they'll be coming in and speaking to us there, but their sister was murdered right here in Houston. Carjacking. And they stole her, a young couple stole her car and killed her right in her home with a knife. I mean, it's a pretty brutal thing. And they had, they're seeking forgiveness. It started this ministry, which is very powerful because they go into the prisons. Mm-hmm. So I think we're going to find that interesting, how they dealt with a real physical very ugly murder situation, and how they turn that into something, how God used them for good through that.
Absolutely.
So her legacy lives on, even though she was in that brutal situation.
I'm really looking forward to the study over the next several weeks.
What about, do you ever think about where do you find the Ten Commandments, if they're not?
Well, one resource, the best resource would be in the Bible, in Exodus and 20 and Deuteronomy 5, and then also Sermon on the Mount.
That's good.
So to start out with, right there.
Yeah. And then we've got some other resources that we're going to be offering. In fact, let's see.
What else?
Producer, can you get us on to? Just give me just a second. We'll see if I can find this. All right. Let's see. We'll go down. Okay. Go ahead and our class has a newsletter, and this week we actually have a resource in there. If I can find it, it should be up on the screen as I'm scrolling through. I'm trying to find it. Here we go. If you look at this, you can click on this little button right there. And this 10 Commandments from the foundation of American society is really a great resource. This is from the Family Research Council, and I know many of y'all know Tony Perkins and the work they're doing up there, wonderful work in Washington. But this is a good resource for us to use, for our class to use, as we're working through, in addition to the Bible. And we've got, this is a good, you can print this out of, you look at it from the newsletter link, and then also, you could give me, this book here is a wonderful book. It's Alistair Begg, and I don't know if y'all may not be able to read it. It's called Pathway to Freedom. This, if you go to his website, and I'll make sure we've got that in our newsletter. I'll put the link out there, but he's got audios too that you can listen to, sermons on each one of the 10 Commandments, and he's got some good insights as well. We've got, I know we've got some teachers lined up. I think, Rand, you're going to teach the first lesson. Next week, Carol's going to be doing a special lesson to get, so that everybody has time to assemble their resources and be ready for the following week. But she's going to do one on Daniel in the fiery furnace. So if you're not following the 10 Commandments, you may be in that fiery furnace.
That's right.
So we want to make sure that we got all of our resources queued up, and there we go.
Well, yeah. Looking forward to the lesson.
I'm looking forward to it too, and I don't know, would we have time for just, actually we actually got a couple more minutes. We got 2 minutes, and if there was some caller that was still on the queue.
They're still on hold?
Yeah, let's see if we can't bring them in. Anybody want to call in? Well, we got all these there's an audience, out there that, I think they're. Oh, we got.
I just want to make a comment. I was at A&M after I graduated, living in that area, and Madeline Murray O'Hara came into the That woman was so depraved in real life. When I saw her on TV after that, I realized how they restrained her language, attitude to people asking questions, filthy mouth. I interacted with her son. I asked him a question. We were having a little bit of discussion. I could smell the marijuana on his breath. Anyway, just if you'd seen her in real life.
How would you know?
There you go. Really, she's throwing out the Lord's name in vain, using all kinds of bad language. Just in a college forum. And someone saw like a real sweet girl would ask her questions. He said, "What are you saying?" It's just a real awful person. But to go with what Cece said, think about after prayer was removed from school. How are schools doing now? You remember hearing about school shootings and decline and everything? Okay.
We got time for one. I saw one more caller. I think he called and got hung up on earlier.
Okay, well, there's so much to unpack here. It's almost impossible during your introduction session. But, things like thou shalt not murder, then you got to define what murder is. And is it just the taking of one's life? Being in the military, you think about taking of one's life is how do you justify it? Or execution, how do you justify those? Murder is murder. It's an insane act, no matter how you look at it. But we do justify it in certain ways, but it's breaking the commandment. And the way that I look at it is, having to do your duty or something like that. And we justify it in so many ways, but since none of us here can create life, how do we go about taking it? So finding out the intent of these commandments is only through understanding Christ and having Christ in our hearts. He showed us how to interpret and utilize the commandments. They're great laws, absolutely infallible laws. But if we don't have the right intent on how we use them, we can't reconcile them. So that's just something I want to think about when
I appreciate that, Carl. We're going to go ahead and wrap up now. We appreciate everybody's participation. That's right. And I'm going to go ahead and let you pray. I don't know if that's illegal in today's society if we pray online.
Pray over the radio.
Yeah, we'll do it. It's good though. Yeah,
we'll do it anyway.
Yeah.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time together, and we just thank you for your word and for your law, and to show us how to have a better relationship with you and as well as with others. And we just thank you for the 10 Commandments, and even if they try to take them away from us in public places, let us hide them in our hearts, and they will always be there. And we love you and praise you, and be with our upcoming sessions and teachers on the 10 Commandments, and we just ask you to guide and direct us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right. Thank you all for your participation.